Hello friends, today I thought I would review something you can actually still find in the stores. It is It from It. So here it is out of the packaging, and it is not its real name because it's actually some ancient Lovecraftian-esque monster that's millennia old and the kids just call it for the sake of convenience. But he is in the appearance of some old clown named Pennywise who happens to look like Tim Curry, who played him in the miniseries. And he's kind of a portly fellow who is hard to stand up. But on the plus side, the face sculpt on this guy is just awesome! And it really does look like Tim Curry, too, in a grumpy, creepy clown expression. And when you get up close, you can see the pores in the skin, and where it looks like they shaved off his eyebrows to apply the makeup. And speaking of makeup, it looks like in a few spots, like right under the chin there, they even sculpted it to look like caked-on makeup, which makes perfect sense because they had to put makeup on him to get him to look like this for the TV movie thingy. And in that TV movie, his hair didn't look quite like this big, bushy afro wig thingy. It was a little more wispy and fluffy, like an actual cheap clown wig would kind of look. But Neca could have only done that if they had, like, given us actual fur hair thing instead of this piece, which is like very rubbery and squishy compared to the head. Very interesting. Also very rubbery is this frilly thing below the neck. Every fold and wrinkle in it is sculpted, and so is every little seam line between the two different colors on it. Just like the seam lines on the sleeves are all sculpted, and then these puffballs have a lot of sculpted detail too, and they are actually also rubber pieces that have been glued to the body. Speaking of which, this down here below the upper chest and right before the legs is one giant rubber diaper. But the sculpt on it is great. All the little folds in that diaper, well, it's not really a diaper, but you know, the lower torso and the legs, they have such good detail. Every little wrinkle is captured. And then down here, these cuffs are also a separate rubber piece. So Neca's done a great job in general of hiding these rubber pieces and merging them with the hard plastic everywhere. And speaking of merging the sculpt, like the ab joint here, it's kind of broken up right there, but the vest helps hide the joint at the back and on the sides a little too. So that's a good little trick Neca pulled off. But in general, the sculpt's kind of broken up at the legs there, but it looks great overall. Its paint is also very impressive. Just look at the floral pattern that's on the vest in the back. That is some serious detail, and it all looks very, very clean. Except for this blotch of yellow down here that shouldn't be there. And this blotch of yellow under the left arm that probably shouldn't be there. And this tiny brown spot and green line on the sleeve over here. But don't let those little errors deter you. Like, yes, there are a few spots where the green and the purple, like, don't quite match up with the lines, and they go outside them, and there's slop here and there, but it's really very minor, honestly. Now, moving on to the pants and the paint on them, they do appear to have two tones of yellow, but it's so subtle, honestly, I can barely tell. So he really just looks like he's got big bright yellow pants and jumpsuit, and continues all the way up to his chest. But that's actually appropriate for a clown character. And then at the bottom on the ankles here, well, above the ankles on this little cuff thing, there's these two lines that are very clean. And then on the face, the paint's pretty excellent in general, although I will say his eyes don't look like they're perfectly centered together, but I actually like that because it kind of adds to the creepiness of him. So overall, I mean, yeah, that I noticed some slop on the back, but the paint is very good. Don't let those nitpicks fool you. Articulation, however, is, well, it's weird. It has a ball joint at the base of the neck, gets some good forward motion, not so good backward, but the afro would probably limit that. A little bit of side to side, and of course 360, but I feel like it'll pop out the ball joint if you do that too much. It has hinged shoulders that go up to 90 and swivel around just fine. And then things get weird with what you may not have noticed is like the meatiest double elbow joint in history. Now on mine, this upper joint moves easy and the lower elbow joint is so stiff I can't even get it to move. But on the other arm, it's the opposite, where the lower joint moves and the upper is so stiff I can't even get it to move. Now, thankfully, he looks decent doing it either way, so I'm not complaining too much, but man, I've never seen articulation implemented quite like this. And then both joints also swivel. The hands are on hinge and swivels also. They can go around and up and down no problem, but they swivel kind of loosely, I feel. Then it has a diaphragm joint, gets hardly any side to side, and can twist around all the way no problem. It can go forward so much, and backwards so much, so not that much. The hips are on ball joints that get great range. They can literally do the splits to 180. They can get to 90, no problem, I would say, and also go back pretty far. And the rubber diaper doesn't get in the way because it actually doesn't continue all the way down across the crotchy area. It just stops. It's cut right there. The hips also swivel, but man, is it stiff on mine. It's so stiff, in fact, this one won't even do it. So I need to take a hairdryer to that and fix it right now. There are knees back there, and they bend almost to 90 and swivel around too. The feet are on what seems like ball joints, but they really get no range at all. And that's because they're not really on ball joints. They're really on, if you can see them up there, very long pegs, and you're just kind of bending the peg when you bend these guys. It's really not an ideal solution. I wish they had better balls or at least hinged joints. So with the arms here and the feet here, there are two really weird points of articulation. I don't mind the arms so much, but these feet are probably the primary culprit in why it can't stand up so good. Because like this one's getting decent range, but this one doesn't do anything. Although at least they can swivel around. And surprisingly, with these rubber cuffs being a separate piece, you'd think they'd put a swivel there and like an actual ball joint there. You know what? I think the reason they're such long pegs and don't have that much range is because they made the peg longer to go from this plastic part through the rubber part and then to the foot finally. So therein lies the issue with standing it up. So its packaging is really white and plain. It really stands out. And I mean, it, like it, the box, not it, the it, you know, open it up and it is in there. Gosh, what a weird title, right? Anyways, there's a cool picture of the figure holding some balloons on some grassy knoll in a puddle. It looks pretty cool. This whole background looks pretty cool in here. You get to see the figure inside and he's not look happy. On the back, we get some more pictures of the figure torn out of the artwork. It's kind of cool looking. Anyways, let's open this thingy up. Just cut one piece of tape here, open up the flap, and out comes the tray. It comes in the first tray on top, and some of its accessories are on a second tray on the bottom, mainly the balloons and a little paper boat. Looks like it only has a single twist tie right there. We'll try and undo that real quick. Not too bad on the twist tie, but then its plastic legs are kind of trapped behind this plastic wall here. We'll try and get them out though. Easy! I really like how the plastic hole for the legs is huge. That's a big improvement over most packaging, Neca. Now for accessories, it comes with 1, 2, 3 alternate heads, 1, 2 alternate right hands, 1 alternate left hand, an alternate pair of demon hands, a noisemaker toy, 7 balloons, and a paper boat. That's a lot of accessories, friends. Each alternate head has a really amazing sculpt. He gets one where he's going all demonic-y here, and one where he is just laughing like crazy, and of course one where his face is burned with battery acid. But he comes packaged wearing a sort of grumpy face, and let's see if we can't pull that off right now. When you do pull it off, this fluffy collar here is a total separate piece, so just kind of keep that in place, and let's pop a alternate head on and see how good it fits. Man, this is kind of hard to do. Oh boy. In fact, it is ridiculously hard to do. Like, you can push and twist and sort of get the head on, but there's no satisfying click. And even once it looks like it's on really good, it's actually super loose. I wish this ball was a little bit smaller, Neca. It's just like a tiny bit smaller, so we could pop it on there easier. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'd recommend like heating the head part up or even putting some like kind of lubrication on there, because it is really hard to pop an alternate head on, and I'm not going to do it for the rest because we already saw the rest. We can see what they all look like on him pretty much. This is get us all sucky, evilly, suck your soul out right there. And we see the happy one. So happy. I love this guy. How can you not love this guy? Well, maybe we can see this head. And he's like, rah! It's pretty much what it looks like with all the heads. It's not really a point into switching them all out to show you, but, except to say that it's really hard to pop the heads back on. Even the one he came packaged with, it's like, oh wow, this is going to take me some time to do. You can get it stuck on there a little, but I wish it was more satisfying to click on, because it's really tough as it is. Anyways, let's hope the hands are a little bit easier, and so far they definitely are. And we'll just pop on the demonic hands and see how he looks with those. Well, the answer is he looks kind of weird, friends, but I mean, he did do this in the movie. I don't remember that specifically. I remember him turning into all kinds of things like a giant spider at the end, spoiler alert, but, you know, I don't remember the demon hands scene that much, but I'm sure it was in there because Neca doesn't miss a beat, and they certainly pop on better than the heads, so they got that going for them. One of the alternate left hands he comes with is just sort of a pointing finger. I think it's going to be like a you, I want you, like Uncle Sam does, or it's just going to be like a wagging no type thing. I don't remember him really pointing too much in the movie, but let's check out his last two hands. So his first alternate right hand is in a thumbs up pose. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's actually got a little hole in it, and it's for holding one of those balloons, which we'll grab right now. Now, all of the balloons are this sort of hollow plastic that's kind of, really hard, but it comes on these metal strings, which you can run one down Pennywise's hand here, and the problem with this hand is it's a little loose for him to hold just one. He's not going to hold it straight up because it'll just run through his hand. But the other right hand is pretty much the same hand, just with the wider grip, so I wonder if that's for holding the noisemaker maybe, or holding the bunch of balloons. But first, let's see what we can get into this hand when we grab some more balloons. Okay, so it seems like the right hand with the smaller grip can only hold about 4 balloons and really starts getting tight about 3. Maybe you could shove 5 in there, but one thing I don't like is the balloons kind of weigh down his wrist, so it slides down like that. It's pretty hard to get him to stand holding them straight up, but you can certainly get an illusion going that he's like holding balloons in a certain... hand just popped out. Okay, it took a few tries, but I did pretty much get him standing in a way where he's holding the balloon straight up. Although I couldn't fit all 6 or 7, he came with 7, I think, in there at once. But we'll try the other hand next. Okay, so the right hand can definitely hold all 7, and there are indeed 7 of the balloons at once, but unfortunately it's kind of top heavy and just pulls the hand right out, and it'll pull it down, but sometimes it pulls it right out like on mine. Let me try to fix this. Okay, so I can kind of fit all 7 balloons in his hand, but man, does that hand not want to stay, and then the balloons have a tendency to just kind of curl out because this hand is open, so I think they do fit easier in the first hand, even though I couldn't fit all 7 in at once. So the balloons are a really cool accessory, Neca, but they're a little hard for me to work with, but I definitely appreciate that you put them in there. And I might have been wrong before, because the noisemaker fits in this hand a little loose. Let's try the old right hand. Yep, I take it the tighter gripped right hand is meant for the noisemaker, and the balloons are meant for the second one, which is not as good at holding them. This one's much better at holding them, just can't fit all of them in at once. So cool accessories so far. The last thing, of course, is that paper boat. Now the boat is made of actual paper, and it's actually folded up, and Neca actually printed some like newspaper-esque faded images and stuff on there. You can't really make out what they are, but what an attention to detail Neca does. And it can hold that paper boat just fine in his right hand with the wider grip. It looks kind of cool there. I like it. So we really do get a ton of cool accessories here, but unfortunately most of them, mainly like the heads and the balloons, don't really work that well the way they're intended to. So even though there's a good quantity of accessories and they all look really good, kind of a mixed bag, honestly. I'd prefer like one alternate head that we could actually pop on and a few balloons that we could actually get him to hold straight up. Maybe they should have sculpted the strings out of solid plastic instead of giving us bendy wires. I probably would have worked better, but I appreciate the effort. They are good accessories. They just don't work that well. It stands at about 6 3/4 inches tall. For a scale comparison, here it is next to my 6-inch Batman and Spider-Man. And the last horror figure I reviewed, Ash Williams, because why not? Ultimately, the sculpt and the paint on everything, both it and its accessories, are just top-notch. I'm almost tempted to recommend this figure based on those alone. But the articulation, even though it's par for the course, is just not implemented the best. Like, those ankles are a big problem. And the accessories, while there are a lot of them and they all look great, I mean, you're definitely getting your money's worth here, they're also not implemented the best. Like, it should be easier to stand him up, and it should be easier to get it to hold its own balloons and pop off his different heads. So, if you just want something for the shelf, this is an awesome looking figure. There's no doubt about that. But if you want to actually play with it, I'd almost say pass him up, because it deserves better, I think. Well, that's it. Peace out, YouTube.